So as someone who said in the past they aren't particularly fond of AMRAAMs because of their weak close range performance and usually don't enjoy flying planes with this as their primary loadout, you'll probably be surprised to hear I quite like the Hornet. Not to say I think it's particularly good compared to its counterparts, far from it, but honestly I found it fun to play, and my opinion on AirRB is as long as something is viable, it is playable. It has its issues, one of which I'm pretty sure is just bugged in the TWS, which along with other airframes I'm aware a lot of people are also having issues with. It's also lacking in power. This does have a silver lining though that I think people overlook. In fast planes like the Eurofighter, or planes that can feel heavy and unwieldy when they get towards and above Mach 1 like the flankers, you can often get yourself into bad positions that are difficult to recover from if you aren't managing your speed effectively. In the Hornet however, you're never in danger of overspeeding because of the weaker engines. And at Mach 1 it still pulls very well, making it good for those close range joust scenarios towards the mid and late game. I have to think about my speed a lot less, which means less micromanaging the throttle and air brake, which in turn allows you to put more focus into everything else. I do tend to play this one below contrail high early game however. With the lack in engine power, I don't really like contesting the BVR phase too much. I feel my teams usually have some F-15s or Eurofighters that do this anyway though, so I can generally just do my own thing. Now I mentioned I like it for close range jousting, so I thought I'd show a couple of clips from this game first just to showcase that a bit and also talk about my decision making on when I'm deciding to multipath and when I'm deciding to notch in these situations. So I'm just going to fire on that flank who's going to dice someone else, and as I'm notching his missile I'm going to come over this mountain here and I'm going to get an Su-30 pop up ahead of me. Now he's going to shoot his missile from a very low aspect, so I'm quite happy to multipath here because I know it's just going to hit the turf in front of me, whilst he's not going to make it low enough in time. There's no need for me to notch there and potentially expose myself. I can stay aggressive because I'm not under too much danger. Now a bit later on in this game I react slowly to this Rafale that pops up ahead, and this is what I mean about the Hornet's performance in these situations. I'm going above Mach 1, I don't cut my afterburner, I don't air brake, and I notch a 5km Mika there. Also note that I decided to notch not multipath. He was slightly above, so multipath becomes more of a gamble the higher above you they are. If I multipath there, it might track through me. Mika has got a small warhead, so splash damage is unlikely, but if I'm confident I can notch it, then I'm going to take that option because for me, it's a more guaranteed defense. Now for this next clip I thought I'd do a refresher on Datalink. It's been a while since I explained it and there's potentially new viewers who weren't around for all that. Basically you'll notice that the ring is still around my target on my TWS screen despite the missile being in terminal range, meaning it's still getting Datalink updates. Because my target has notched but the missile sees ground clutter, it does not want to switch to a non-pulse Doppler track, which is what makes Fox 3s and War Thunder vulnerable to chaff normally. Instead it's asking for Datalink updates to its inertial guidance from my radar, which is not being notched of course. This means I'm keeping him defensive and if he recommits the missile will find him again. I don't get the kill though, as you can see from this sensor view. He fires an ER just about the time it hits, and that proxies on my Fox 3 and technically he kills himself, so thanks for that Gaijin. I'll let you watch it through from my perspective on sensor view now, so see how the missile starts in track and then it's going to switch to IOG plus Datalink. If I didn't hold my radar soft lock on him, a hard lock will work as well, just for reference. You would just see IOG here and it'd be a lot easier to defeat this missile. The Datalink is basically updating the inertial guidance. And then you'll see as he leaves the notch towards the end here, it switches back to track as he stops notching the missile. Now I mentioned TWS issues at the start and that will feature throughout the video. I just wanted to show this specific clip to give you an idea of what I mean. So at the moment here this is relatively fine. I'm just kind of picking up everyone after they've taken off. But I'm going to turn my attention shortly to a dot on a contrail I see in the distance ahead of me. I don't know how visible it will be once, we go through the YouTube compression. But basically you're going to see someone up high who I want to engage first, right? I want to push them off their altitude and I want to take command of the altitude so I can get some top-down attacks. However, when I reset my radar to start looking at this guy up high, you're going to see how my scope is constantly over the top of him. I'm giving it plenty of time to refresh. You'll even see me start messing with the range in case he's further than 74 kilometers. He was not further than 74 kilometers for reference, but the radar just will not pick him up no matter what I do, and he is flying relatively head on. It's not like he's in a notch right now. And then eventually I get fed up of trying to do that, so I'm like, okay, I'll just go for my top down attack. I'll just spam some missiles off and defend. And I know there's targets down here because I saw them earlier in the game, and I checked back in sensor view on this one. But you see, when I do get a ping, and I'm messing with my radar now because I'm getting frustrated, but when I do get a ping, it's not a convincing lock. The radar, even if it gets lots of refreshes, sometimes it just doesn't seem to effectively pick up targets. Sometimes it works fine, sometimes it's just inexplicably not working. It also really likes picking up missiles. A lot of TWSs are doing that at the moment, but this one does feel quite bad for it. I'm going to get the kill on this flanker, and then not much else happens in this game, so I'll move into the next one. Right, now let's look at some full air RB games. At the start here, again, the TWS, you're going to see me messing with it quite a bit, probably being detrimental to myself here. But I was getting quite frustrated at this point. I just feel like if I was playing like an F-15 before the patch and I was looking down at the enemy team like this, I'd be getting a much clearer picture of what's going on and much more reliable signals. As it is, when I've been using the Hornet, I've just been tabbing through targets and just slinging missiles, because at the end of the day, if there's people down there, the missiles will find them, theoretically. There's maybe an argument to start messing around with full vertical queuing controls, so, you know, turning off cyclic targeting, but I'm not a huge fan of that in AirRB. I find the level of micromanagement just a bit too annoying. Might be something I experiment with in future, but it's worth considering when you've got a TWS that's not working as well, because, you know, tabbing through lots of targets on cyclic, especially when your TWS is picking up lots of false signals, can make it a little bit worse, I think, because you're also tabbing through like missiles and all the rubbish that your radar's returning to you. As I defended there, I decided to get low a bit. It's often a cycle I like to do when I've got a bit of terrain to work with, is defend low to break line of sight and like radar line of sight that people have on me, defeat any missiles coming my way, and then retaking my altitude behind my team, because now I can once again get those top down attacks and I'm not too exposed. And you'll see again now, once I do get some pressure on me from, I think it's this flanker's going to take a missile on me, you'll see that again I'm still going over Mach 1, but the Hornet is very good at getting into these notches in time without, you know, too much concern. And again, I'm going to defend down low a bit just to make myself less of an obvious target once the game develops a bit more. Basically, you're always sort of treading a line when you're playing top tier, I think, in, you know, deciding when I should be high, when I should be low, because the altitude does give you more options, but if you get your positioning wrong, you will obviously expose yourself. I don't immediately fire at that Vigan just because I saw him late. I know my team's won this game, so I don't need to go for the risk of getting the launch off. I'm just going to focus on my defense and make sure I survive, and that's the end of this game. In this next game on Kamchatka, I've skipped past the early game, not a lot happened. I just wanted to look at some radar management as I recommit here. And you're going to see me tab through TWS and HMD a few times, and I'm picking up a lot of missiles, a lot of things that just aren't very useful to me. You know, I want to find planes. I end up going for the SU-30 once she's spotted. You can see my HMD doesn't want to pick up that J11, so I quickly tab to ACM there. Always do that if you're looking at a target and your HMD doesn't want to lock them and there's no other clutter around. Just quickly tab to your ACM and usually it will pick up the lock for you nice and quickly. Don't get too, you know, caught up desperately trying to get the HMD to work when it's not. You know, keep using your ACM even if you've got a HMD on your aircraft. Now again, I'm going to be trying to HMD lock a J11 that I see as dot against the horizon. See how I quickly tab to ACM there? You won't see the switch to ACM because the lock is being picked up so quickly after I switch modes. Because again, the HMD isn't working, so switch to your ACM, make use of it. I push for a multipath because he's not firing from a high aspect, so, you know, I want to stay aggressive if I can. No AMRAMs now, so I'm going to fire the 9M because I've still got one more. As it is, he's not going to flare it, but I was pretty happy to go into a merge here because I've shed all my AMRAM weight. I'm on pretty low fuel at this point, but, you know, as it is, he doesn't flare it, and that's going to be the end of this game. Next game on Golan, I'm just going to start here. I've put a missile out on this guy who's come to our side of the map, so need to get rid of him. Again, I've flown in below contrail height. I want to present myself as, you know, a less obvious target and let my teammates handle the BVR phase. And then as I get closer, I'm just going to start trying to bully people off the altitude. I pick up the Seville on the F-15 so I can pay attention to this flanker now below. These top-down shots, again, as we all know at this point, perfect for 9Ms. I just wait until my teammates are a little bit clear so I don't accidentally team kill. That's going to be extremely hard to flare unless he spots the launch, which he probably isn't because he's amongst my team. I'm only going to get the finish off credit though because he obviously takes some damage from the teammates in the furball below. And then it looks like I've only got one contrail ahead of me. So I'm going to get an AMRAAM out on him and I'm going to try and take command of the altitude now. And again, I'm trying to make sure I'm staying below contrail height so I'm not attracting too much attention to myself, because now I've got myself into one of those perfect positions in ARB. And you'll probably be sick of me saying it by now in all my videos, but this is why I always say try and take command of the altitude at the start, because then you have the opportunity to get into these top-down positions where you're going to see me collect a 7-kill game. Using my HMD rather than TWS, you know, I want to try and be efficient here. I don't want to be messing around with radar management, especially when I don't trust it. After I fire the first salvo, I just go defensive quickly, just so I'm preemptively ready to defend. And then when I'm safe, I can come back in and fire another salvo of missiles. Paying attention to the control guy as well. I'm trying to, you know, manage both tasks at the moment and make sure I don't get someone coming in above me. But I also want to try and, you know, I want to try and frag out here. This is a great chance for me to pick up a bunch of kills, which I do. Finally, for this SU-30, I'm just going to push in with multipath. No need to notch there. Just stay aggressive. He manages to defeat my missile as well, though I think he MCM'd it. Don't know whether he intended to do that, but fair play. And then my teammates are going to finish this one for me. But that game is a perfect example of what you're capable of in the Hornet for these top-down positions. When you get into these situations, the more missiles you have, the more kills you're going to get. Yes, obviously these matches aren't going to happen every game, but if you keep trying to play smart with your positioning and awareness, you will be able to get these high kill games. I didn't get that game from having really good airframe control or anything like that. It's all purely in the positioning. Anyway, that'll do for today. One last clip I'll leave you with the outro. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed the Hornet. If it gets a radar buff or fix to the TWS most notably, I can see myself playing it plenty more in future. It's not as good as a Eurofighter, Rafale or Su-30 at 14.0 and probably is slightly over tiered, but it's still fun and it looks cool, so I'm going to keep playing it. Next up is the J11B for me probably. I want to try and do that for Friday, but life's going to be pretty busy for me in the next few weeks. And I also want to potentially cover the other 2 US Hornets and look at sensor fusion on the Eurofighter amongst other things. Basically there's lots more I want to explore, but I can't promise you when I'll have the time to put these videos together. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this one today and I'll see you again next time.